Men are just deeply misunderstood. Quite often you'll find that we men are just extremely uncertain on the inside. There's this deep uncertainness, this unassuredness that quite often colors everything that we do. Either we are silent or we are frustrated, depending on the circumstances, but it comes from that deep sense of uncertainty.
So I think women are angry today. We are absolutely frustrated, angry with the men in our lives, to the point we have absolutely also demonized the men in our lives. We become so fierce in fighting for ourselves, and we are angry because we're looking at the men today based off the disappointments that we have felt in going through our relationships with our own fathers, with our spouses, and the men in our lives. And we are looking and we're thinking, well, men today, they're completely hopeless. They're completely useless. They're unreliable. They're cheaters. They're betrayed on us. We can't depend on them for anything. And we've gone to this unreasonableness with our anger to label all men as narcissists. And I think that is an absolute problem for us as women when we're interpreting men through that kind of angry lens. And perhaps maybe today we can kind of just talk about, instead of labeling and misrepresenting men in our lives, because I've just put out a reel out there, let men be men, and the men all like it, but it's irked the women. So we need to talk about why are men like that? There's a reason for it.
I think generally men are just deeply misunderstood. Quite often you'll find that we men are just extremely uncertain on the inside. There's this deep uncertainness, this unassuredness that quite often colors everything that we do. Either we are silent or we are frustrated, depending on the circumstances, but it comes from that deep sense of uncertainty. And I think very often we are silent because we are just not sure how to engage meaningfully. And that can be misinterpreted as someone who is just disengaging, someone who's just not interested, someone who just wants to be left alone. And a woman start to think, hey, listen, no, he's just not interested in this marriage, in this family, in this relationship, or even in parenting. He just wants to be left alone. That's not really true. We men want to be engaged. We men want to contribute. We men want to be involved. And there's a lot of dynamics that goes on. Sometimes they feel that whatever they contribute is dismissed. It's not valued. It's not taken on board. And when that happens too often, he gets even more silent. He feels like, what's the point?
What's the point?
What's the point I'm doing this? Let us just decide on everything. I'll just kind of go along with it.
For the sake of peace.
For the sake of peace. We men value peace a little too much sometimes. But that's it. We value peace a lot. And that's not always the best way to go forward in a marriage or relationship.
If he's too silent, she can become provocative in that sense. She will start to provoke him. And too much of provoking will lead a man becoming...
Well, he gets provoked too much. Next thing you see is frustration and anger. So you find a man who's either silent because he's decided to just let her do what she feels is best, or he's not sure how to engage her meaningfully, or he's just deeply frustrated and angry because there's a constant provoking, this constant coming back, constant trying to get him to engage, and he gets frustrated. He feels like he's been pushed against the wall and he starts to lash out. It's frustration and anger.
Exactly. And so it's either the silence or the anger that now can deeply hurt the woman. And she comes back in either reactions, whether she's trying to get a answer from a man, or she's trying to, or she may withdraw and she'll try back again. She's always going to try to come back for connection and closeness. And when she doesn't get the response that she needs, she can start to become now, she sort of repels whatever a man stands for, speaks for, who he is. And that kind of repelling effect, simply because she has not reconciled her emotional distress, her emotional pain, and her emotional frustrations. And here's the thing for us as women, we can't downplay our emotions. It is real. We are hurt, but we cannot take our hurt and our pain and make it the center of everything. And then engage, relate, interact with the men in our lives through that lens. Because once we start to do that, we are now starting to look at our spouses as the cause to our pain. And we don't see as women that we are contributors to it as well. And this is where, until and unless we sit and reconcile our own emotions and figure this out, not just emotionally reasoning it out, and not just going with the flow and having this expectation for a man to behave in a certain way towards us, until and unless he's nice to me, until and unless he's comforting to me, until and unless he speaks my language. For one thing, we got to understand as women, we cannot expect the men in our lives to be our girlfriends. They're not our girlfriends.
Absolutely.
And if a man pushes back, that's okay, because that's where a woman can't handle it. And when he tries to push back, she repels him. He feels like, okay, again, there is just no point here.
Point?
What is the point? Yeah. And I think women need to understand when a man gets to a place of what's the point. I mean, she talks about herself getting to a place of what's the point. It's like, if I don't get what I want in this relationship, I'm out of here. He's useless. I'm everything. I'm the queen. He's the slob. And so this perspective here has to quickly shift, and it can shift when we women look at men and begin to understand not just or demand for how he needs to behave towards me, but rather understand why he behaves the way he does. Yeah. I think that completely changes this interaction and engagement that we have with each other.
See, end of the day, it's a relationship, marriage. It's a partnership, isn't it? It's a tango between two. Yeah. And it's not a competition. It's not one over the other. It's both contributing, both in partnership and trying to do what's best for that marriage, for the family. And the thing is, men, even though they can be uncertain, they can be unsure of things, they still need to, in some ways, push themselves.
Out of their comfort zone.
They have to come out of the comfort zone. We cannot make peace or comfort the hallmark of everything in life. Yeah. It just does not work. We cannot fight for peace by doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
We need to actually engage. We need to fight for this relationship. We need to fight for this marriage. And that will mean that for us to come out of that comfort zone, sometimes even being vulnerable, to engage meaningfully. And we need to give our best by staying in that conversation. Yeah. Even when we don't understand it. Yeah. Yep. Staying in that conversation long enough. Yes. Until it starts to make sense. Yes. Start to understand where she's coming from. What's the motivation behind how she's calling things out? Why she's saying what she's saying? Why she's bringing all this up? You know, quite often we get labeled as silent, angry, slobs, not interested, but all of that is not true. We do want to contribute. We do want to be involved. And men can show that. If they can just come out of their comfort zone, just start to really engage meaningfully. Try to understand where she's coming from and really engage her in that manner. Start to understand the heart behind of everything that's being said. And I think that relationship can go far. It's a beginning of something more fruitful.